On today's cooking sketch, I'll be taking you to Spain. I will make a gazpacho, that is a cold soup, with some diced tomatoes, some roasted red peppers, and I will serve it with some grilled mackerel. We are going to make our gazpacho, our cold soup, on a fish stock base. So we are going to bring 500 milliliters of water to the boil and then dissolve a fish stock cube in it. Next we are going to measure out 150 milliliters of tomato concasse, that is diced tomatoes in their own juice. I've measured out 150 grams of roasted red peppers from a jar, and we are now gonna chop those up. Doesn't have to be very perfect because we are gonna blitz those through the diced tomatoes with a stick blender. Anyways, we are now adding 150 milliliters of fish stock to the diced tomatoes. I've got some waxy potatoes here, and I'm gonna cut them into 2-inch slices. That is about 3 centimeters. And this is about 3 centimeters or 2 inches. And with a cutter I'm cutting out 4 pieces of potato, and you want about 4 pieces of potato approximately the same height, because this is what we will place our mackerel on in the cold gazpacho. Next we put our fish stock and our diced tomatoes back into a pot. We are gonna add our diced red pepper to that and our 4 pieces of potato. We are gonna now bring that back up to the boil and leave that to simmer for about 15 minutes. There are usually still some bones running through the mackerel fillet in the middle, so we are gonna try and get them out, and to do that we are gonna cut in the middle of the mackerel fillet, and we are, well, kind of making a slither so we can cut the part of the fish with the bones right out. This is the part of the mackerel with all the bones in it. We just cut that from the mackerel. Then we are going to cut the mackerel to size. We are going to cut away a bit of the belly, about this much of the belly, and this is about how big you want your mackerel fillet to be, so it will fit perfectly on the 4 pieces of potato in the gazpacho. Next we are gonna season the mackerel with some salt And we will put the mackerel in a little tray, and we are gonna drizzle over some olive oil. And don't be stingy with the olive oil, because you don't want the mackerel to stick to the grill or griddle pan. The gazpacho has simmered for about 15 minutes now, so we take out the pieces of potato and put those aside. And we now put the pot with the gazpacho into the sink filled with cold water, and we will now blitz the gazpacho with the steak blender into nice and smooth. Okay, the gazpacho has now been blended all nice and smooth, and now we are gonna cool down the gazpacho until room temperature by immersing the pot into the sink filled with cold water and by keeping the gazpacho moving. So we keep whisking about until the gazpacho has cooled down to a room temperature. And when the gazpacho has cooled down to a room temperature, we're going to season it with some salt and some pepper. We're going to refrigerate the gazpacho even more. It goes into the freezer for about 10 minutes to bring the temperature down to about 4 or 5 degrees centigrade. Okay, the gazpacho has been in the freezer for about 10 minutes, and now we are gonna season it with a tablespoon of smoked paprika powder. We are gonna stir this in, and after it's all well combined, we are gonna put the gazpacho into the refrigerator until it's time to plate our dish. Now we are gonna clean some samphire, which we'll use as a garnish in the gazpacho. You want to cut off this last bit of the samphire because that is the woody part of the samphire. And then we cut all the little pieces off. It's now time to grill our mackerel. You need to push the mackerel down a little bit because it curls up, because we did not score the mackerel. So we need to push it down. We are going to griddle our mackerel for about 3 or 4 minutes. And just like with salmon, as it is cooked 2/3 of the way up, we will turn it over and cook the other side for just 1 minute. And now it's time to turn the mackerel over. For 1 minute. And now it's time to plate our dish. We are first gonna spoon in the gazpacho into our bowl. Then we put in the potato pieces on which we will lay to rest our mackerel. We sprinkle the samphire around as a garnish. And last but not least, we put on our mackerel. We sprinkle the mackerel with a little pepper. And the plate is finished. Bon appetit!